I need to do a quick audio check. Okay, I know there's a little bit of static. I apologize for that. Just this laptop was probably not made for this much use. But hopefully you can hear me. So welcome. My name is Boyd Trollinger. On the schedule you'll see J. Trollinger. My first name is John. My middle name is Boyd. I go by Boyd. So good morning, everybody. Ooh, neat. Okay. Good morning, Amarok. Is it Dayok? Justin, VG1414, Zach. Good morning. And then for those of you who can't see in the chat, good morning to you as well. Thanks for being here. I'm gonna try to. I'll try to live by the hour that I said this would be, but I want to go through the basic structure of the course inside of Canvas. So yesterday's class took a little bit longer than the hour that I had hoped for. So thank you again for being here. Oh, neat. So when I was a kid, by the way, I didn't like Boyd. It was too different. I didn't like how different it was. I wanted to be John, but now I'm cool with it. Plus, I'm used to it, obviously. Okay, so good morning to you all. We're here for the Linux Essentials class, CSCI 25. If I'm in the wrong place, that'd be terrible. But this should be the Linux class. What you're looking at on the screen there is for instructors. There's a student view, so I can kind of see what you see inside of the class. So hopefully this, other than the pink strip at the bottom, which is telling me that I'm looking. Good morning, Crotan. Anyway, other than this pink strip at the bottom, it should be very similar to what it is that you're seeing inside of Canvas. So thank you for your patience in advance, because I want to go through the entire Canvas setup. I know if you're taking more than one class, every teacher does it a little bit different. For those of us who are IT people and... Oh, no, nice. That was a guess. So I'm glad that I pronounced that right. Anyway, for those of us who are in the IT world, it would probably suit our sense of order better if everyone did it the same way, but that's just not the way that humans do, is it? So I know you're going to have to get used to everybody's different kind of setup. I'll go through mine. I hope that I have the fact that every week I have the same setup from week to week to week is helpful to you. Yeah, no problem, Zach. So you'll often hear me say, for those of you who are watching the video later, so I know that a lot of people have work lives to deal with. So hopefully you will find some time to consume the videos when you're able to, and I will post them on my website so that you can view them whenever you want. Okay, so I'm glad that you both, and those of you who would normally be working, I'm glad you could be here for this first meeting, but if you're viewing it later, no problem. This will get posted. The video of this will be posted on my website. You can also find it on Twitch and YouTube, so I'll show you around anyway, and you'll see all that. So here we go. So my homepage, at the top of my homepage, that's a little Linux penguin. If you've encountered Linux before, that's a Linux penguin, which is their logo. Anyway, we'll do a live broadcast here once a week, every Tuesday from 11 to 12. I don't think it's going to be true in this class, but even though we're online, we have been instructed not to do teaching work if there's a federal holiday. I don't think it happens in this class, but it will be every Tuesday from 11 to 12 unless there's a federal holiday somewhere that I've forgotten about. Hi, Tim. Nice to meet you. Thanks for being here. So anyway, I'll be here every Tuesday, and then right after the broadcast ends, I export the video from Twitch to YouTube, and then I also upload it to a captioning service and link all those videos on my webpage. Good morning, Doug. Okay, so there's that. That's like the main way that you're going to see me as a living person, probably is through these videos or broadcasts. But I do have a couple of other options. I have the Confer Zoom link on the left is a way that you can book sort of an office hour get together with me. The tool organizes them in 15-minute chunks, but basically if you want to just spend some time talking to get to know each other, or you have questions you'd like to meet up with me, I do have sort of an office hour schedule, and you can also just request a Zoom meeting if you want. And also, if you need to contact me for anything, please use the Canvas inbox, because I'll monitor that pretty actively. Okay, and at the bottom of the homepage, because I like it this way, and I hope that some of you will find this helpful. I like to know what the whole semester looks like roughly. So you'll see these are the Mondays. So every week is represented here, and the major topics that will be covered during that week, and a link to the content and homework module is in that table. Also highlighted in this schedule are when projects are due and when exams are due. So the projects are going to be not super big, but it's all I'm creating team projects, so we have a chance to interact with each other a little bit, which we would normally do in the classroom and lab environment. But since we don't have that this semester, we'll have a couple of team projects, but they shouldn't be anything that will overwhelm anybody. Tea with honey in it, because my voice gets roughed up pretty good doing this. The exams, so I'll just tell you in advance that there's a midterm and a final. What will happen is they will be open for a week. So the midterm exam that's due on October 18th will open up on that Monday, and then it will close out on that Sunday. So you'll have a week to work on the midterm exam, and you will also have a week to work on the final. But those are highlighted there just because those are things that you want to keep track of in terms of your scheduling over the long term. Okay, so that's the home page. I know this part's boring. I'm just going to go down the links. The modules link. So like most instructors, I assume, are doing, I've organized the semester into weekly modules. Right now I've only got through the first 2 weeks, but I'll be uploading more and as many as I can as fast as I can. So you'll see more modules appear ahead of when we arrive at those weeks. The only week that's different is this first week, because there's a special orientation module. And what the orientation module is going to do is repeat most of what it is that I say to you in this video in words, and then have a short quiz just to make sure that to let me confirm that you understand the course policies and procedures. We'll look at this because when I get through going through the whole sort of structure of the website, I'll actually go step into the modules and we'll look at them. So this week has the special orientation module and also the week 1 module. And once you get to the week 1 module, then you are getting the same look and feel that you'll have every week. So every week there will be these 5 things. And we'll look at more carefully at the week 1 module today. And then I'm going to be uploading more. My goal is to have at least a week 4 by the end of this week, if not week 6. Okay. One thing you'll notice, by the way, about the modules, every module, starting with week 1, has the week 0 orientation module as a prerequisite, but that's it. So week 0 prerequisite, week 0 prerequisite. What this means is that once I start loading modules, if you want to work ahead, you are welcome to do so. You can work as far ahead into the semester as you want, with the exception of the midterm, which will only be open for that window of 1 week. But otherwise, you can work through all the content as fast as you want, as fast as I can get it uploaded for you. That's the modules page. Confer Zoom, that does not work when I'm in this student view, but what it is a calendar, and it has sort of office hour appointments that you can book with me, and we'll use Zoom for that. If you haven't used Zoom, then apologies, because you'll get sick of using Zoom. If you have used Zoom, then super apologies, because no doubt you are already long sick of using Zoom. But the state of California has bought us a professional license, so we feel like we should use it. And it is a way for us to get some FaceTime together. But if I'll show you. If I click on it now, for me it shows an error because I'm not using a real account. I'm using a fake student account just so I can look at it the way you look at it. Alright, so that's how you book meetings with me. The guides page, this will never be that many, but to make sure that when you're working on your own you have a reference that you can turn to, I've created a series of guides, and we're going to look at some of these today when I go back later and step into the modules. But the guides have steps and screen captures that walk you through different processes that we use for doing work in the class. And we'll see actually all three of those guides today, and then the 2 team projects will have guides for them as well. But I decided to make a special page for that because I thought it could be handy occasionally if you're sitting there at home, that you don't want to have to go figure out what module was that guide in. I thought you might just want to be able to get at the guide, so that's a separate page. Okay. Wait, I clicked on guides again. The videos page. So this will have one after today, but every time I make a video for the class, either for a broadcast or occasionally I'll make a one-off video that just has a sort of a video walkthrough of something. I will post the video with the date that I posted it, the topics that are covered in the video, a link to the video that has ADA compliant captioning on it, and then a link to the YouTube video. The reason why I'm doing both ADA and YouTube is because the ADA captioning takes time. So sometimes it can be, I don't even know how long right now, but my guess is it could be a week or 2 at least before we get ADA compliant captioning. So in the meantime, if you want or need captions, you can go look at it in YouTube, and YouTube actually has a technology that does an okay job of captioning, but it's not ADA compliant. When downloading the Oracle, the virtual, we'll go into that. So there's a question about when downloading the Oracle. So there's 2 pieces that you're going to need in software, which actually is going to come up when I get to the syllabus page. You're going to need VirtualBox, which is a piece of software that needs to be matched to your computer. And that's the software that allows us to run virtual machines. So download the Oracle VirtualBox for your computer. If you have a Windows computer, download VirtualBox for Windows, Mac for Mac. That's really the only thing you have to worry about for now, because the other download is a virtual machine image that VirtualBox will connect to and run a simulated Linux for you. Okay, so anyway, that's the video page. So every time I make a video, as soon as it becomes available on YouTube, then there'll be a link there, and it'll also be linked to another site that does the ADA compliant, that's the American with Disabilities Act compliant captioning, but there's a lag between when I post those videos and when the captioning actually appears. So that's why the YouTube is there, because they do offer at least a crude captioning service. The grades page, which is just, we'll show your grades. And then finally the syllabus, so we'll spend a little bit more time here. Although the stuff at the top is kind of boring. So I go by Boyd. When you see the J's, that's John, that's my first name. So when I put J. Boyd Trollinger, that's usually just so people don't get thrown off, like, is there a different J. Trollinger? No, that's me. There is a C. Trollinger, that's my wife. Okay, so this is Linux Essentials. So this course assumes that you've never touched a Linux or been in a Linux, and what we try to do in this class is develop the skills needed to sit down at a Linux machine and do productive work as an operator. So this is sort of the first step toward, if you wanted to be a Linux system administrator, that would be the next step after this one. Yeah, yep, she's the one. Okay, so this is all stuff from the state's curriculum. But anyway, this is how the class is structured. So we talk about the Linux operating system. We are going to do multiple installations. I personally think the way to get very confident in working in Linux is in part knowing that you can install one. Now we're going to install them as virtual machines. So that's a very safe way to do Linux, because the worst thing that happens with the virtual machine is you delete it and start over. And you don't really lose anything other than a little bit of your time. We'll talk about some of the command line tools, and in fact a lot of the command line tools, how to do text editing on the command line. This is one of the more challenging things, as it turns out, to do. Takes some practice. And then a little bit about how the file system in a Linux system is structured, and so on. These outcomes are, again, from the states. The state of California has a curriculum for this class, so these are the outcomes, sort of the minimum set of skills that you should exit the class having if you pass the class. So we will install and configure Linux workstations. We will deal with the Linux file system. We will learn basic editing using the VI editor. We'll do permissions. We'll do a whole bunch of different command line utilities. We will look at process control, which in Windows what they call tasks. And then finally we will do some scripting and manipulate our environment. So that's sort of the desired outcomes. Okay, course materials. So there are no books to buy for this class. I am using books, but they're all online books, and most of them are in PDF format. So I'm using a whole bunch of different ones, but what will happen is, and you'll see this when we get into the week 1 module in a few minutes, I will link to the specific chapters or sections of these books that I want you to read on a given week. So this looks like a lot, but usually in a given week I will ask you to read 2 chapters from 2 different books. That's kind of typical. But anyway, you'll see when we go into the week 1 module. So these are all free. They're all housed on a website called the Linux Documentation Project. So if you go there, you will find that they have a listing of free online books, and that's what I'm using for this class. So you don't need to buy books. You'll just get used to following the links that I have to those books for the readings that you need to do in a given week. So that's free. The software you need is also free. So we're going to use a tool called VirtualBox that you install on your computer, which then lets you run virtual operating systems. And we're going to use that to explore several different Linuxes on our computer. You'll see me do it on my computer today. And then finally, to try to recapture some of the interaction that we would have had together in class and in lab, we'll use a discussion platform called Piazza. The reason why I'm using Piazza is because it's more powerful than the Canvas discussion tool. It lets me do some things that the Canvas discussion tool won't let me do. And it's kind of created with IT type people in mind, so it's friendly to people in our line of work. So nothing to buy. One free account on Piazza. We will be downloading some software, but the main program to run is Oracle VM VirtualBox, and then after that we will be creating virtual machines with it. And then all the books and documentation are free. Okay, so that's materials. I'm going to take a sip of my tea with honey in it. Okay, so course requirements, this is really about what is it that we do in this course. For some of you it'll be like how do I get points? But you also might think of it as the active work that we do that becomes something that you submit for grading. You will have one quiz the whole semester. That's the quiz in the orientation week 0 module, and that one's just there to ensure that you understand the basic policies of the class. This quiz has no limit on the number of times you can redo it. So if you want to get perfect, you can just keep redoing it and redoing it and redoing it until you get all the right answers. So that's the quiz part. We will have a lab every week. So a typical lab in our class has 20 multiple choice, fill in the blank, matching type of questions in it. And typically the idea is that you run a virtual machine and then you experiment with different commands inside your Linux virtual machine, and then I ask you questions about those commands as the lab assignment. We will see one of those here in a few minutes when we look at week 1. So there's one lab assignment a week, every week for 17 weeks. There's also one discussion prompt a week, every week for 17 weeks. So one of the components of every module. One of the components of every module is a discussion prompt that will ask you to go to Piazza and contribute to some kind of class discussion. It'll take us a while before we get warmed up on it, so the prompts early in the semester will be pretty obvious and direct. But I hope that at some point you'll turn to Piazza as a way to ask and answer questions with each other to help each other when you're not quite sure if you've got the right answer for a thing. So those are every week. Labs and discussions, there's one a week every week for 17 weeks. Exams, so we have one midterm and one final, and that's it. And they are both comprehensive. So the final will cover the entire semester, and the midterm will cover about half of the semester. These are effectively open book exams that you're given a week to complete. The catch is that you don't have unlimited repeats on them. So you kind of have to be prepared, and you have to think about your answers before you submit a midterm or a final. But there's no time limit on exams or quizzes or labs in here. It's as long as you need to get it done. And then finally we'll have 2 team projects. They're going to be similar, but one of them will sort of raise the bar on ourselves a little bit. So what we're going to do is I'll put you together in groups of students, and what you'll do as a team is install and evaluate a Linux or a Unix distribution, sort of as a team. So probably you'll all end up installing it for yourselves, but then I'll have a document where it will ask you to sort of fill in some questions about the distribution that your team's working on. And most of what I'm about to say about that right now may not make sense, but I'll ask you about package management. I will ask you about the default packages that were installed, the desktop environment if there is one, how long that distribution has been in existence, those kinds of things. By the time you get to doing the team projects, you will have a sense of what all those things are that I'll be asking you about. But as a team, you'll work with your teammates to fill in this document about your distribution that you're exploring. Okay. I do have a drop policy, so if you disappear for 2 weeks and you haven't submitted anything and I haven't heard a word from you, is when I will drop people. That's just something that we're strongly encouraged by the state to do as a publicly funded institution. So anyway, just keep track of that. If you disappear for 2 weeks and you haven't done anything and let anyone know that you're still around, you'll likely be dropped from the course. I can't imagine how you could figure out to cheat in this class other than on the midterms, but it probably goes without saying that You're expected to do your own work for this class, unless you're in the context of a team project, and then you're expected to help each other as much as possible. Now that said, the way I want you and encourage you to use Piazza to ask questions, ask for help, and if you know the answer to someone else's question, please offer your help. That's not cheating, that's just being a good classmate. Okay, I don't accept any kind of late work. So once the deadline on an assignment hits, that assignment goes away. So just keep track of that. Now there's something that'll make that seem a little bit less intimidating here in a second, but I don't accept anything late at all. The one time I have tried to do that in recent years, it was a mess. Way too many people let derail themselves. So I've found that for most of us, myself included, being held to deadlines consistently is the best way to ensure that we actually do the work. Okay, there's that. Grades. So how do grades work? We have the one quiz for 50 points. So here's what I'm talking about in terms of there's something that makes this less painful. We have 17 labs, but I will only calculate your final score against your 15 best lab scores. So if you have 2 zeros, for example, on labs because you didn't do them or whatever happened, something else took priority, that's okay because I'm going to drop the lowest 2 anyway. So you get a little bit of wiggle room on the labs because there's 17 of them and I keep the highest 15 scores. Same for discussions. So there's 17 discussion prompts, but I will drop the lowest 2. So that gives you a little bit of wiggle room. The exams, those just go in. They're 250 points apiece. The midterm and the final, and then the team projects are also 250 points apiece. So that's how the final grade will be computed. That is all of that. So let's see how many people are actually... Oh, there's a lot of you in on the... So let's see. I didn't say hello to a lot of people, I think. Wardog, Amarok I said hello to. Axel Kitty, hello. Crotan I said hello to. Dayok, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Doug. Hot Local Mom. Hey, Jooms. I don't know what the hell you're doing here. Is that the Jooms I think it is? I said a bad word. Sorry. Justin, hello. Quiet Denim, hello. Tim, hello. VG, hello. Hien. Okay, thank you, Hien. But I would like to know how to say that at some point. I know a Joom, so I don't know if that's someone in the class or if it's the Jooms today. I think you are. Hello, either way. Okay, so that's the structure of the course in Canvas. We've got a good timing going on here, so now I would like to go step through the week 0 module to show you what's in there, and then step into the week 1 module and show you how that's going to work as well. So hopefully we are all good. Okay, I know this is it's trying to hear me talk for so long. Most weeks we'll be doing stuff, so it'll be a lot more exciting. Let me make an adjustment here. Oh, no, we want to go look at the modules, don't we? Okay, so there's 2 ways to get to the modules. You can ask questions whenever you like. So if you're talking about just putting a question into Twitch, go ahead and ask it whenever you like, and I'm watching it so I can answer. So yeah, if you have a question, just drop it in wherever you'd like to do so. But I will stop at the end and make sure that there's a round of question. Okay, so no time limit for midterm or final. Does it have a save option? That's a good question. I don't know if you can. I'm going to Google that. Let's Google it. Let's see if Canvas will do that. Oh, by the way, I can use this as an excuse to tell you about a thing. Um, yeah, so let me answer Tim. So Tim asked, I can only see week 0, 1, and 2 so far. That's true. I've only published the first 2 weeks of modules, and I will be publishing more. So I hope to get weeks 3 and 4 published this week, if not more. And then as fast as I can, I will try to get the entire semester's modules published. And they will be published long before you ever get to that point in the semester. So look for more and more modules to appear, hopefully fairly quickly. Okay, so the other question is, can I save the state of my midterm exam if I start it early in the week, let's say, and then come back to it later? So this is a good time to point out to you that there's this help link on the far left in the gray bar on Canvas, and officially that's where I'm supposed to tell you that you go for Canvas help, but it's terrible. Yeah, it takes forever to find anything. The way better way to look for Canvas, like if you're struggling with just some aspect of Canvas itself, is to Google it. Just do a Google search, then say Canvas and then your question, and I guarantee you're going to find better. So anyway, here's the first one that comes up is exiting a test or quiz and returning later. Let's see if you can do that. Yes, it looks like you can. So you can take me on the record for this, because if I'm wrong, it will be on me to fix it. It appears to me that you can just leave the quiz and come back. And since I have not put, I will put no time limit on it. You should be able to leave and come back, which would allow you to work on a midterm exam over multiple days if you wanted to. So that's what I'm seeing there, and if it's not correct, I will fix it. So sometimes Canvas does what you'd want it to do, and sometimes you don't know who programmed that particular aspect of Canvas. Okay, so we're going to do a dive into content. There's 2 ways to get at modules. One of them is on the home page. All of the modules are linked. So notice this week is special because the orientation module is there. So these link to the modules themselves. The other way you can get at them is by clicking on the modules page, and they're all there. So I'm going to click on the week 0 module from here. And we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on week 0. That's what I hope you will spend time on, sort of as your homework. Most of it is repeating what I just said as we went through the structure of the class. But I'll go through anyway, just so you get a sense of what these are going to look like. It's an online class, so there's lots of reading. So anyway, it's a welcome page, about me a little bit. These are sort of my personal impressions of the course and what it's supposed to be about. Right now, by the way, I'm sitting, my main computer is a Linux computer. It's by far my preferred platform for all the work that I do. So I'm a Linux fan. So anyway, these are just sort of repeating in text some of the comments that I would make, and probably have said much of this stuff already while we've been sitting here. But I hope that you will go read it for yourself and just sort of let some of that sink in. The second page of the orientation module is describing for you what the links on the left side do. We just went over that, so that mostly repeats what I just said. It tells you what the modules link is for, what the Converzoom link is for, and so on. Do I have those in the right order? Guides, videos, yes. And then the Canvas navigation links, which is the stuff in the gray bar. The inbox is important because that'll be the main way for you to contact me directly if you need something. And like I said, the help is all of the things that are Canvas help, but Google's way better than that, so that's what I would recommend. I'm just going to keep nexting through this. So now we're on the 0.2 component of the orientation module. These are just some things to consider as we start the semester. Online courses are challenging for everybody. It's very difficult, I think, it's harder to learn without being in a place where everyone else is kind of working on learning the same thing, at least for me. So we kind of have to do extra work to try to help ourselves overcome the challenges of being in an online environment. The main things I would point out to you from this Keys to Success document is to remember that we are replacing a course where we would have been in a physical space together for 5 weeks every week. We would have had 2 hours of lecture a week and 3 hours of lab a week, where we would have had time to for me to present material to you, for me to do walkthroughs of your labs with you, for us to discuss things, for you to work on your problems with the instructor there over your shoulder. A lot of that's gone, so we sort of have to be mindful of the fact that the time needed to do the work is still there, and the time needed to learn is still there. So what I would ask of you is, until you have a really good sense of how much time the work in this course will take you each week, leave yourself plenty of time, right? Don't sit down on Sunday night at 11 p.m. And give yourself an hour to finish the week's work. Now, if you discover in a few weeks that somehow magically you can do that, then that might be up to you. But please make sure you leave ample time in your week until you have a good feeling of how much time it might take. There's a lot of reading in an online course because so much of the content has to be presented to you in Word, so just heads up about that. Self-discipline and self-motivation seem fairly obvious. Participating in any way that you are given an opportunity to do is great. So I'm pleased that some people are putting in the Twitch chat, for example, which is helpful because I'll know if you have questions. But please give the Piazza discussion boards a chance to interact with each other and ask questions and share what you've learned. It takes an extra effort, really, to make the best experience for all of us. Anyway, some thoughts that hopefully you'll go back and review. Okay, so 0.3, how this course works. We've been over this. So this is, the kinds of work, how many there are, how often it happens, that kind of stuff. I thought I maybe had an additional comment about this, but I've forgotten what it is at this point, so it must not have been huge. Yes. Oh, that's an outstanding point, Crotan. So for those of you who can make the live broadcast, like the more actively you engage by asking questions in the chat, the more material that is there will be from the student's perspective for people who can't be here all the time and have to watch it later. That's an outstanding point. Okay. Just remember, I don't take late work. You can submit partially completed things, though. So if you don't get through, you can still get partial credit for things. So keep that in mind. And it's not all or nothing. Live broadcast, videos, talked about that. Communications, talked about that. And then the last thing you'll see is the orientation quiz. There's no time limit on it, and you are allowed as many attempts as you want to get perfect. I'm not going to take it here, but you can see things about the quiz. Oh, I remember what it is. In our class, everything is due on Sundays at midnight. So this week, Monday was August 24th. So the Sunday at the end of the week, August 30th, everything for this week is due on Sunday before midnight. So notice this orientation quiz, Sunday at 11:59 p.m. That will be true for the week 1 lab and the week 1 discussion. If it is, I'll go. I will fix that. So someone says there might be a mistake on question 9 on the quiz. So as soon as I end the broadcast, I'll go fix it. If you already did the quiz and fell victim to question 9, I will fix your grade. So please give me like don't take the orientation quiz for like at least give me an hour after the broadcast ends to fix question 9. And also, I'm very, very grateful to people who find mistakes and tell me about them so I can fix them, because it's I have a lot of classes and it's a lot of content. I'm not an online teacher normally, so I'm having to load lots of content. So there will be bugs. Okay, so that's the orientation quiz. I'm going to go, so if you click next here, you'd go to the week 1 module. I'm going to go to the modules link just to give you that view of it. No, it's perfect, Ian. Thank you. I appreciate it. So, and you can Canvas inbox me if you encounter a problem. And again, if it's a problem that affects people's scores, I'll go in and I'll fix the scores. That happened in another class already as well. Okay. So here's week 1. So from here on out, after the orientation, which is a little bit different, every week's modules are the same. So we're going to step through this week's modules. Every week has a goals section. Look, there's not stuff there. Why is there not stuff there? I don't know. I put stuff there. See, that needs to be fixed. Although technically it is just an introduction to Linux, so that's okay. So every week, and I'm irritated that this one doesn't show, has a set of goals. This isn't content. This is just telling you what we're about to do. This is why we're about to do it. I think I just need to take that one off of there. Okay, so the second page in every weekly module will be the readings for the week. When I am not entirely happy with the books, or I want to sort of just pick out specific details, I will often send you over toward Wikipedia and ask some questions off of that. So I know this looks like a lot of reading for this week. It's usually not this many items, but none of these is super long. So sorry about that, but when I want to get the ideas across and my book doesn't actually have the ideas like I like you to see them, then I find other ways to do that. I think Wikipedia's got pretty good technical articles. So most of the time, by the way, in Wikipedia, you can find most of what you need in the introductory paragraph or two. So you usually don't have to read the entire article, although sometimes I'll ask you to look through it a little bit. So anyway, these are all the readings. There is one from one of those books I was talking about. I'm going to click on this link so we can see what it looks like. So Chapter 1 of Introduction to Linux. So it's in a PDF. So you'll notice it brings up the whole PDF. So when you click on these links, I can't actually get you specifically to Chapter 1. So you need to know when you come over here what chapter you're supposed to be reading. So this week is Chapter 1. It's relatively short. I don't know how many pages it is, but the point is when you click on, just sort of get it in your eye what I'm going over there to read. Okay, Chapter 1. If you click on the Wikipedia link, the whole article is about operating systems. So that's the reading. The questions on the lab assignment will come out of these readings. So what I recommend that you do is maybe open these up in tabs so that you can refer back to them as you're working through the homework assignments, the lab assignments. The other thing about the reading and lecture page is when I'm done with the broadcast, or if I make a video that goes with a specific week, I will actually embed the videos on this page. So later today, the video for today will show up here, embedded. And a link to today's broadcast will also be on the videos page. That's the readings. So what follows the reading is the lab assignment. I'm going to do a little piece of it because typically what you do is you combine reading with experimentation in your virtual machine. And those two things together are how you get to the answers for the lab assignment. So you'll be running your Linux virtual machine and you'll sort of have the readings there as a reference, and you'll use those things together to work out the answers to that week's questions. Now just remember, you're not alone. If you have a question, you can ask me in the Canvas inbox. You can post it to the Piazza discussion and tag it with the week that the question is related to. And there's a couple other options and you can also schedule a Zoom conference with me. Okay, so the instructions for this week's lab, mostly about completing the readings, but it also has you go through the installation process, which is a part I'm going to do. No. So the question is, should you worry about the specs on your PC? In other words, do you need a fancy, powerful PC? I don't believe so. So the laptop that I'm on, which I'm running Linux, I have 8 gigs of RAM and not a huge hard drive. The main thing about virtual machines is that they can chew up some storage space, so you may need to delete them from time to time or put them on an external storage device if you want to keep them and you're running out of space. But in terms of the power of your PC, you shouldn't need anything fancy for that. And I have a 5-year-old Alien Windows desktop that I do experiments on to see if what I'm doing should work for most of you who I assume use Windows, and it handles it just fine. In fact, it handles it better than my laptop. Uh, 4 gigs will be okay. If your laptop has 4 gigs, you'll be just fine. So you shouldn't need any super fancy specs. And in fact, the first virtual machine is probably the one that's the most straining on a system, and it's pretty little, other than the download size. So I'm going to go through these next steps, at least partially, just to let you know what to expect. I will point out to you that I've made instructions for all these steps. So I have already installed the VirtualBox software, but I'm going to open this and show you where I'm at. So I've already been through all these steps on my Linux machine. If the numbers change, if VirtualBox becomes 6.2 at a point, that's fine. You can get a newer one. So VirtualBox, you want to get it to match your computer. So I downloaded one for my Linux machine, but I also downloaded a different one for my Windows machine. And then anyway, I have screen caps and then little labeling about what you should be on the lookout for. On my computer, yeah, that's fine. If you know how to operate a Linux machine, you can like go nuts on it, because nothing that we need will be taken away. So the question was, if I know how, can I update my Ubuntu virtual machine? And yes, you can. Don't worry about it. You can go nuts with it and install other stuff if you want to. Anything you want to do with it. It's basically, once you've downloaded it, it's your virtual machine, and everything that we need will be there. So yeah, have fun with it. On my machine then, I've been through this first guide, and I'm down to the ready to go. Now you're going to see that my Linux version of VirtualBox is different, but I'll show you the links. I've also already downloaded the starter virtual machine that I made for us. So you're going to see how to do this for yourself, but I thought it would be easier to get the class started if we all just used the same virtual machine. So I made one for us, and I'm going to show you how to get it connected to VirtualBox. I've also made a set of instructions for that. These are all in the guides. Let me tabify that. So I'm about to go through this process of installing a virtual machine image. And again, just be warned, my Linux system looks a little bit different. Okay, so that's where we're at, and I'm going to do that. So let me hide that and bring up this. Alright, so you'll notice mine's a little different. Not too big a deal. I've already downloaded the virtual machine image, and I've already installed VirtualBox that lets me run virtual machines. So I have to, on the Linux version of this, go to the File menu and do Import here. On the Windows version, there's a big Import button on it. But I'm going to import appliance. And I'm going to have to sort of fiddle so you can see things, which right now you can't see that. So let me add that piece so you can see it. No. That. Okay, so here's my dialog. On this dialog, the thing to be careful of, so I'm going to choose a virtual appliance file. This is the virtual machine image that I gave you. So I'm going to navigate to where I downloaded it to. Here it is, Ubuntu CSCI 25.ova. So yours will probably be in your download folder, but I put mine somewhere else. All right, and then I just confirm here that I selected the right thing. It's this virtual machine image file. Then I'm going to click Next. And I'm going to see if you can see what I see. You can. Terrific. As a general rule of thumb, look, it has the wrong commenting in it, but that's fine. I did change it for you guys. Don't change things unless you know what you're doing. So generally, just leave things alone. I'm not going to change any of the settings. I'm just going to click Import, and off we go. And then you can't see it, but I'll show you what's happening right now is I'm waiting for it to download. So we'll wait. It's not going to take too long. The biggest pain about all this is downloading the big virtual machine image, the Ubuntu CSCI 25 file. These are good times to do things like get a drink, or installations can take a little bit of time. So anyway, my machine is not particularly powerful, and you shouldn't need one that's particularly powerful. The virtual machine is only expecting a gig of RAM, so if you have more than that, you should be probably just fine. Okay, so this is what you end up with, and then if you're looking at the guides, oh, I lost it. It doesn't matter. If you're looking at the guides, the next step is basically to make sure that your virtual machine is highlighted. Yeah, the description, it's fine. Yeah, you can change it if you want. So someone's asking the little description in the virtual machine image file. It's mostly meaningless text, and I thought I updated that, but because I made one and then sort of cloned it for two different classes and then did two different setups in them. But don't worry about it. The description, it doesn't hurt anybody. If it bothers you, though, you can go ahead and change it. It bothers me a little bit. Okay, so now we're ready to fire up the thing, which the guide will tell you to do. So I'm going to fire it up and then make sure that you can see it here in a moment. Alright, so now my virtual machine is booting. If you haven't used a virtual machine before, it's basically another computer running inside a window in your current computer. So it's almost like its own, I mean, it is mostly its own computing environment. So when you're in it, you're running inside of a Linux machine. Yeah, it's in an emulated environment. Okay, so here's the login screen. You'll see this in the guides. The password is password, P-A-S-S-W-O-R-D, A-S-S-W-O-R-D, all lowercase letters. You'll see that in the guide. I created a user account for you called user with the password. This is, it's an experimental virtual machine, so there's no real security issues. But anyway, you type in the password, hit enter, and you log into the system. So one thing you'll notice here is that it's a fully functional computer, so you have access to the internet, or should, through it. It has a start button like Windows does, so there's actually applications in here you can look around, and I encourage you to sort of play around with it. Yeah, and if you go full screen, you might forget that there's an operating system running underneath it in these virtual machines. So for our purposes, most of the semester we're going to be working in the terminal. I'm going to make sure you can see that. So most of the time when you come into a virtual machine, you're going to want to launch a terminal. And we're going to do, and that's the whole purpose of this course actually, is to learn how to operate from inside of the command line environment. And I won't do a spoiler on the lab. I think it's pretty clear about what you're asked to do, but I'll just, so that you know how to operate it, I'll do a command. So I'm going to type the date command, and I'm going to press enter. So what you do is you enter commands, you type in commands, you hit enter, and then the commands give you output. So this was the output of the date command. So Zach says if you may need to fiddle. Don't worry about this, most of you, but I'll go ahead and repeat it off the chat so that if you are feeling courageous about fiddling with things, Zach says that to get full screen to perform well, he had to change the machine settings to give it more video memory. I'll show you that when I log out of the system. Okay, so your main job is you're going to open up this terminal, you're going to type commands, you're going to press enter, and you're going to see what their output is. And as we go through the semester, we'll be adding more and more commands that'll let us do more and more of our tasks from inside of this terminal. When you're done, by the way, you can click the X, which is a way to shut down the system. I like to do it in the sort of old school way, so I go to the start button, leave, shut down, and it's going to say if you switch off, your unsafe work will be lost. I don't have any unsafe work, so I'm just going to shut down the system. At which point, where did it go? Here it is. Let me get that. There we go. At which point you're back to VirtualBox with the virtual machine waiting to run. So what you guys will do this semester is you'll end up adding more virtual machines in here as we explore different Linuxes, and then I hope some of you, sorry, my back's hurting, I hope some of you will take on the challenge of trying a Unix variety to see how the same or different those are. So someone pointed out video memory. With the virtual machine powered off, you can tweak settings in here. If you're not comfortable with doing that, don't worry about it, but you can tweak these settings and see if you can get different performance out of it on your system. So Crotan is a Unix user. What flavor of Unix or Linux is your favorite these days? Interesting. Oh, so you're using it as like an actual work, like data entry system. That's kind of cool. It's encouraging to know that people are using it in those environments. That's awesome. Okay, so yeah, that's sweet. So one thing I want you all to know, though, is it might be a minor inconvenience if you wreck one of your virtual machine files and have to start over, but don't worry about it a lot. The starter Lubuntu will always be on my website for the semester, so if something goes wrong and you have to just delete stuff and start over, you can do that. It'll be okay. And I do it a lot. Before I sat down this morning, I think I had a half dozen virtual machines in here. I removed some of them. I deleted others. Um, Sort of just cleaned out some old trash from experiments I was doing. Okay, what is this thing? Oh, that's the browser. So that's all I got. I'm going to click through the last couple of windows. Let me hide these guys. Go away, go away, go away. No. That. Okay. Last couple of notes, and I actually got to about an hour. So there is a question or two in this week's lab on that you'll have to answer inside of your virtual machine. You'll have to do something in your virtual machine to get the answer. So the reason why that's here in the instructions is because it's easiest if you just get the virtual machine running, and then at the moment that you see those questions in the quiz, you can click into your virtual machine and answer questions. Okay. What comes after that? Discussion prompt. So every week you will have one. This week is really just I'd like to get a chance to know a little bit about everyone. I may or may not see you or get to interact with you through chat or Zoom. So Piazza is another opportunity to do that. You can be anonymous. You don't have to put your name in there if you don't want to. But as much as you're willing to share, so that we have a sense of who our classmates are, that'd be nice. Every week has a Piazza discussion prompt. And then the last thing every week is just reminders. So this week is just, did you do all the stuff? But in future weeks, when we get to a good timing for the first team project, the reminder will say, you should start the team project now. So you'll see reminders when it's getting close to time for the midterm exam to happen. That will be in the reminders here as well. That's what that page is for, is just to draw your attention to things that you need to keep track of in terms of your scheduling. Back to home. So that's the stuff. I will occasionally, by the way, open up a sort of a drop-in Zoom meeting, kind of like an open class meeting for us. When I do that, just, pardon me, a drop-in Zoom meeting, I'll put an announcement about it. We'll probably have one next week sometime. And if you can make it, you can. It's great. If you can't, you can't. But anyway, during next week's broadcast, I will call your attention to the fact that I will be doing an open Zoom meeting for an hour where anybody can come and we can talk to each other and see how it is we're doing in the class. And you'll see an announcement about that. So please do check the announcements on a regular basis so that if something a little bit different happens, you'll catch wind of it. No, so you don't have to, for Zoom, no, you can join Zoom without video. It's optional in Zoom, so if you don't have video, that's fine. You can also mute the video and or the audio whenever you like, so that would be fine as well. So the question was, do I need video to join a Zoom chat? And you do not. You can just come there as an observer, or if you have a mic, you can talk, or you can sort of cut out everything and just listen to the discussion. But when I schedule one of those, I'll put an announcement for it. So please check the announcements so that you'll get a heads up when I do one of these sort of open drop-in get-togethers on Zoom. Yeah, so you should be fine. You won't need a camera unless you want to have one. It'll be fine. Okay, that's all the stuff. I'll sit here for a second or two, see if there's questions. Expect that the video from this broadcast will appear on the videos page and on this week's lecture page in the week 1 module. So both of those places you will be able to find it. Thanks for being here. There's a lot of people came by and a lot of people joined in the chat, so thank you for that. I'm available by the Canvas inbox, and I check the Piazza discussion boards pretty frequently, so you can drop a discussion, a question or an answer in there if you like as well. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, VG. Thank you, Hien. Appreciate you guys being here. For those of you watching the video later, welcome everybody to the course. Um, Please take advantage if you need to get in touch with me of the communication tools, Piazza, the Canvas inbox if you need to touch bases. Yeah, yeah. Linux is I don't know why, but um, that might be a discussion prompt. Like for those of us who think Linux is cool, can we explain why we think it's such a cool experience to have? But it is. Um, Yeah, so week one has a lab is the only thing that you submit. The Piazza discussions, you just go do them before the deadline so that they're time stamped before the deadline, and then I go check those later. So the lab assignment is the only thing where you actually fill out stuff in Canvas and submit it there, yes. Okay, I'm signing off. Thanks everybody. Look forward to seeing you again. If you want to do face to face, use ConferZoom and grab one of those 15-minute slots, and we can meet each other a little bit. Otherwise, take care until I see you again.